class. Our Cliff's Notes for what's going to actually happen over the next 24 hours, well, they come in the form of NBC News national political correspondent Steve Kornacki. How's that? Was that good?
Perfect.
Yeah. He's over at the big board right now. Steve, tell us.
Where do you want to begin?
You can talk about the election or you can talk about disclaimer.
I'm like Willie. I haven't seen it yet, so I'll stick with the election. But good morning to you. Happy Election Day. And in fact, we've already got results, by the way, just to explain why you see 3 votes to 3 votes nationally. The little town of Dixville Notch, New Hampshire, far northern New Hampshire. The old Balsam's Grand Resort Hotel was there. I think they're rebuilding it. They vote at midnight traditionally. It's 3-3, fitting, so it's still tied as we will await the more fulsome results later. So in terms of what is to be expected tonight, and again, we have sort of 7 core battleground states. You know them by now, I think, that we're looking at. One of the questions, though, raised by that Iowa poll over the weekend is, could there be some kind of a surprise outside of those core battleground states? But barring that, the action is going to start tonight. First poll close in the country will be 6 o'clock, but 7 o'clock Eastern. Georgia, the first core battleground state, polls close. And I want to say this is going to be different, I think, than we've experienced in the past. The law has changed in Georgia, and if it goes to plan, we are going to get a ton of votes in Georgia very fast when 7 o'clock comes around. I'm talking about 80% of the entire vote in the first hour, 7 to 8 p.m. It's a new state law. All of the early vote, all of the mail vote has to be reported out in that first hour. And we've seen 4 million people in Georgia vote early so far. So that could be about 80%. When those results start coming in, where am I going to look? One county I'm going to key in, and I'll show you right now. To put this in perspective, let me put the 2020 results from Georgia on the screen. Remember how close the state was. And I call this right here the blue blob, the blue counties in the Atlanta metro area. They are big. They are growing very fast. They are diversifying. And they are becoming more and more Democratic. More than 40% of the vote in the state comes out of these counties. Biden got nearly 70% across them 4 years ago. The question that one of the tells for me tonight is going to be, is the blue blob getting bigger? Because there's one county right in that area, right here, Fayette County, that's been getting close for Democrats. And I just want to show you what it looks like there. This is a high-income suburban county, about 120,000 people, part of that Atlanta metro area. And just look at this. If you went back to 2012, Mitt Romney won this thing by almost 2-1 over Barack Obama, came down to just under 20 when Trump came along, down to single digits in 2020. This typifies what we talk about in the suburbs with high educational attainment all around the country, moving away from Trump's Republican Party. If Kamala Harris and the Democrats are getting what they want out of Georgia tonight, if they're having a good night, this is going to turn blue tonight. If it doesn't turn blue, that is an achievement for the Trump campaign that'll put them in much better position in terms of the Atlanta metro area and heading off other losses there. So that's a place I'm going to look in Georgia right away. A lot of other stuff we could get into. North Carolina is going to close at 7:30. Again, we expect a pretty fast count for most of the vote in North Carolina. If it's super, super close in the end, it may be a cliffhanger, but if somebody's got a, 1-2 point edge here, we might see that fairly soon in the North Carolina results. One place just mentioned to kind of key in on here. This is Nash County. There aren't many counties in the country like this. This is outside of the Raleigh area. And look at this. It went for 2012 is where I wanted to start. It went for Obama the winner. It went for Trump the winner. And then it went for Biden. So it's what they sort of call it's the ultimate sort of swing county in North Carolina. So we'll look there. That could be a bellwether. Again, a lot of other stuff there. And then just zooming out here, again, 8 o'clock, the polls are going to close in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania has a ton of vote by mail. Basically, the pattern in Pennsylvania is going to be we're going to get a ton of, almost all of that vote by mail pretty early. And then the folks who went out and voted today will start getting those votes released. So you can expect in Pennsylvania that the earliest numbers you see after 8 o'clock are going to be the best for Democrats of the night because they do so well in the vote by mail. And the story then is going to be, as that same day vote gets counted up, is Trump able to chip away at and erase entirely whatever deficit he gets from the mail-in votes? 8 p.m., we're also going to get just about all of Michigan. There are 4 counties in the far UP that are in the central time zone. So the official poll closing time there is 9. But between 8 and 9, I think we're going to get a lot of Michigan. There's a change in how they do a total overhaul of how they do the elections in Michigan. They have early in-person voting for the first time. Millions have taken advantage of that. They have pre-processing of those ballots. You don't have to just wait till election night to start opening them, verifying signatures, all of that slow down administrative work. That can be done ahead of time. And then Wisconsin, 9 p.m. Eastern, we're going to get a close there. And the thing to look at in Wisconsin, if this is super tight, and if we're waiting on Wisconsin, having looked at all of these other states, there's one twist in Wisconsin we might as well flag right now. The city of Milwaukee. There aren't many in Wisconsin that do this, but it takes all of its early vote. And we are going to talk in like probably 100,000 ballots, maybe more. It takes all of it to a separate location, counts it at the very end of the night. This is usually 1, 2, 3 in the morning. Elections have swung.
Who would think of this?
Who's the rage now?
Steve, who would think of this? Again, you look at what Florida does. I mean, Florida counts the early votes early. And we know by 8:30, 9 o'clock usually who's going to win that state, except for 2000. Why in the world would I understand the Republican legislatures push back in Wisconsin, they pushed back in Michigan, they pushed back in Pennsylvania, but in the other two states, they sort of took care of that by some things that they did. Why in the world would Wisconsin wait to take their early votes from Milwaukee to another place and count them when all that does is feed into Donald Trump's lie?
Well, to be clear, that's not a decision by the state of Wisconsin. That's a municipal decision in Milwaukee.
So why would they do that?
Well, there's been pressure on them not to, and they have resisted. And I couldn't give you the best argument for why that is. I think that what I think they're trying to do is to make clear, the separation between we're reporting this is all of the early vote versus the same day vote, to make that separation clear,
right,
for whatever reason. But I can tell you in Wisconsin, and this has not just come from Republicans, there have been folks saying change that. It doesn't look good to have it overnight. You want to make these more efficient. But there are the rules in Wisconsin. It's a very decentralized state. Hundreds and hundreds of municipalities,
right,
and they have the right, if they want, to do. Any one of those municipalities can do that. There's about 3 dozen in the state that do it.
Yeah.
The biggest is Milwaukee, and it has been a moment.
So Steve, let me ask you this question then. So we know to look at Fayette County in Georgia as a larger indicator. We know to look at Nash County in North Carolina. Talk about we're going to get early votes out of Pennsylvania, Michigan pretty quickly. Wisconsin, give us the county or counties that you're going to be looking at there. So even while we're waiting for the Milwaukee vote, we'll get the idea of if, let's say, Trump is wildly overperforming in one county or Harris is wildly overperforming in one county, we'll know which way this race is going.
Yeah, so I think, look, we'll start in Wisconsin here. You hear sometimes about the WOW counties. These are the 3 big suburban counties just outside Milwaukee. You see them right there. For me, the word in Wisconsin is going to be bow wow. And what I'm talking about here is the bow counties. This is, I'll show you right here. This is Brown County. This is where Green Bay is, right? This is, there we go, Brown County. This is Outagamie County. This is where Appleton is. We're going along the Fox River here. And this is Winnebago County, where Oshkosh is. You see they're all red. And the story in these counties is pretty similar. I want to just show it to you. Where you had, look, Romney won. This is Brown County. Romney won it narrowly in 2012. Trump flipped it big time. He got into double digits here in 2016. Then Trump gave back, not all of it, but he gave back some of it. A margin of 11 comes down to a margin of 7. And in a state as close as Wisconsin, this is part of how Trump lost the state. In these bow counties that are red, where he had a big jump in 2016, he gave back some, not all of it in 20. So I want to know, in the bow counties, is Trump getting back to the level he had in 2016? That's what his campaign needs there. Then you look at the WOW counties, and again, we're talking about big, Waukesha is the biggest of them, big suburban county. Unlike other parts of the country, the suburbs outside Milwaukee have remained more Republican than some of these other suburbs that I'm showing you. You can see still a 20-something point margin for Donald Trump, but again, down. He won by 27 in 2016, now just over 20. Is that coming down further? The one I really want to look at, though, is the O in the WOW, Ozaukee County. This county has the highest level of education educational attainment. That is the population that has a four-year college degree. It has the highest of any county in Wisconsin except for Dane County, where the University of Wisconsin is. This showing that Joe Biden put up in 2020, he lost, but 55-43 was the best showing for a Democrat in Ozaukee County since Lyndon Johnson in 1964. This has been a stalwart Republican county, but it's been allergic to Donald Trump. This is one to key in on tonight because it has so many of those demographic ingredients that Democrats are counting on. How far can Harris get this down farther? Can she get it down much farther, or has Trump stabilized this? The Trump campaign wants to stabilize a place like Ozaukee. The Harris campaign wants to bring it down. So going to look there as well. And just one final one to tell you. I mean, this is the game has changed so much for Democrats in Wisconsin over the last 2 decades. I mean, again, Donald Trump's arrival on the scene has a lot to do with this. You used to look over here in the state, the western part of the state along the Mississippi River. You used to just see blue counties. They're counties with large blue-collar white populations. These things have swung. Some of these have swung 30, 40 points in Donald Trump's direction since 2016, have become core Republican counties. And what's happened is the Democratic support, I mean, you could see it, has become much more concentrated geographically into geographically small, population-dense areas. And more Democrats are leaning on this county, Dane County. I mean, you can see, look at this, a 50-something point win, University of Wisconsin, again, 50-something point win for Biden. And look at that margin, 181,000 votes. They drive this up. 4 straight elections. I think every election this century, the Democrats have driven up the margin higher and higher in Dane. And what it's doing, and what it did for them in 2020 by about this much, is offset all of those massive Trump gains in one by one in these much smaller rural counties. Those add up. But if the Democrats continue, this is a thing to look at tonight, 181. Does that streak continue? Do Democrats take their margin higher in Dane County? Can they take it significantly higher? Because, again, if Trump's making gains in places like the Bow counties I just showed you or the small rural counties, Democrats more and more are going to depend on this.
All right, Steve Kornacki. Wow. Thank you very much. Lay of the land for us.